It is a huge honor for me today to be interviewing my buddy Jim Chapko, who we just had dinner a year. Where'd we have dinner year ago?
Up at the Grand Geneva in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin.
That's the old Playboy. That's the original Playboy Club.
Yeah, back in the 60s and 70s, a little bit before you and my time, we should have been hanging out there. Back when
Oh my gosh! And man, what a yeah, that was Hugh Hefner's retreat. It was his, and it's the most beautiful. It's not anything you think. It's not like Las Vegas stripper pole or anything. It's wood and
woods and 100 acres. You drive back there, and it's just a beautiful resort. And
I had
back
the most.
Back in the day, they had the bunny tails and the ears and the whole bit back there for the guys.
And I had the most embarrassing event in my entire life happen at that club. I don't think I've ever done anything that stupid in my life. You know what I actually did?
I'd love to know.
True story. The sliding glass doors lock behind you for safety because there's all the woods and the golf course and all that stuff. And when you go out there, it locks behind you, and there's a red little sign by the door that explains that. And I woke up in the morning and I was in my underwear and I just walked out there to see it, and I go and I turn around and that door had gone, it automatically shuts, and it was locked, and it was about, I don't know, 25 degrees. What was the temperature back then?
25.
Yeah. It was about, and I'm from Phoenix, and I'm sitting there like starting to panic. To walk all the way around to the front of the resort to come into the front door without a key, and then go to the front desk in your underwear at 5 o'clock in the morning and ask for a room key. And the lady just totally knew what had happened the minute I walked in, and she goes, this happens about about once a month this happens, but usually they're not in their underwear. And oh my God!
That's a great story. That's great. That's
my God! But luckily, at 5 in the morning, there's only a few people laughing at me. There wasn't that many people. But so basically, the reason I wanted the podcast interview you is you're at the forefront of a new concept of dental implants called ImplantWide teaching, and you got a surgicenter. So tell us about your concept.
Well, you and I are about the same generation. I graduated in '85 from Northwestern Dental School, set up my practice.
And what did you actually do at Northwestern to where as soon as you left they closed the school down?
Yeah, I have to keep that quiet. That's why they shut the whole thing down. But yeah,
everybody I talked to says they closed it down because you graduated from there.
Probably true. We'll have to keep that in the past.
So you got out in '85. What year did they close that?
They closed it, I think, the late '90s, around 2000 is where they shut it down. Yeah,
and it was for money. They got a big grant for the medical school research department, so they wanted to close the dental school to expand the medical school research, right?
Yeah, right down there in Chicago, they just all those blocks where the dental schools, they built huge buildings, and the money was not in the dental school at all. So that's what
and it was funny because back then they were closing down dental schools. They closed down about 6, and all the dentists thought the sky was falling. What's wrong with our profession? They're closed down all dental schools, and now 30 years later, they've opened up about 6 new ones, and now it's the opposite. Everybody thinks they're making too many dentists.
It's unbelievable how the cycle changes. Yeah, and so I've been in practice full time 30 years, going on 31, and now your boy, I talked to him for 5 minutes before, and I just got married 4 years ago at age 51 for the first time, and I have a 2-year-old boy. So I was talking to your boy, thinking, I'm going to be 72, and my kid Aiden gets out of high school, and we're actually trying for a second child. So I have to get my second wind here and keep practicing for a little bit longer.
Well, that is awesome. That's why when I turned 50, that's why I did sign up for the Ironman, because I got a 3-year-old granddaughter, and I thought to myself, my dad and both grandfathers died at 60, and I wouldn't live long enough to see her even get to high school. So I broke with family tradition and tried exercise, and and this is Thursday, and I ran 10 miles this morning, and Sunday is my 3rd Ironman. So I think a granddaughter and you having 2 children and a reason to make wiser decisions and eat cleaner and work out meaner, we might live to be 74. 74 is the 50 percentile. So
yeah,
so if you just make the 50-yard line, we could live to be 74.
But having a son, a boy, did change me, Howard. I didn't think I was going to have children, but there is a trend in America now where there's older dads. A lot of guys in their 50s and 60s are having their first kids. It's a trend. So.
Right on. So you're wearing a scrub that says implant wide. What is the deal with implant wide? What is your new concept?
Well, the concept, I started placing implants about 12 years ago, and I got really heavily into it and taking the classes, buying all the stuff, and really enjoying it. And it was kind of a paradigm shift when I placed my first implant a long time ago that, wow, this really wasn't as hard. Your article, by the way, that you had 2 months ago in Dental Town hit the nail on the head. It was the best article I've ever read about how all dentists, GPs need to be placing. That was the greatest. It needed to get out there. I'm thinking 100% along your thought process, and you're a pioneer, and you're right, is what needs to be done. So, we've got a lot of new dentists, a lot of GPs are struggling these days. Restorative kind of has been dropping off lately, looking back over a 30-year period. And, as long as you have the cone beam and the training, just what you said in the article, there's no reason that GPs should be placing implants. So I came upon the idea of like a surgicenter where, you open a surgicenter, it's like a health club. I figured if you want to work out, you can do two things. You can go to Precor and buy $20,000 worth of exercise equipment, put it in your basement, and work out by yourself. Or you can go to the health club that has all the equipment there and pay $50 a month and use their equipment. So I figured with implants, why don't we have an implant health club where we have a beautiful facility, it's got all the stuff, all the equipment, all the implants, we have 12 different systems, and the dentist would just come and rent the health club to place their implants. So if they want to do, we call it solo. If they want to use the facility solo, it's like going to your health club and working out $50 a month. You just use the equipment on your own. Or if you want to have a personal trainer, we have mentors. We have two periodontists. One is Anthony Reganato. You know him. He posts on Dental Town all the time. He's in our area, and he helps out at ImplantWide. And we have a couple of periodontists and an oral surgeon that helps, and myself and a couple of GPs that are more surgical oriented. So the dentist, if they want to rent a mentor, they can come here with their patient, do their implant with a mentor, and they bill the patient, and they just pay a facility fee. So we have locker room and everything, and so we started it 6-7 years ago. I have a partner, Dr. Ted Greenlee. Him and I have opened this one in Schaumburg about a year ago, so it's a startup. It's a beautiful facility, and we've been starting to get a lot of dentists. We've had about 40 dentists now in the last 12 months that have started using us for their scans and doing some of their surgeries.
So how does the fee work? Is it a percentage? You get a percentage of the fee, or is it an hourly rate, or?
It's basically it's roughly $1,000 per implant, give or take a little bit, if they want to use the team approach, which is with a mentor, and it's a roughly $500 per implant if they want to go solo. And they bill the patient whatever they want, though. So they bill the patient and collect. If they want to bill $2,000 for an implant, they can bill it and collect the money and then just pay us for a facility. So we're the house. Hey, nice cat. I have 2 cats in my house too, Howard. I love cats. And they sit on my lap and get fur all over me. And so when I go upstairs to see my wife, I've got fur like completely covering myself, just like exactly like that. But my cats are Orientals. They're they have short fur. They don't have the big furry tail like that one.
Well, I'm compensating for my bald head. See, there's no hair in this house except for the cats.
That's funny. That's good.
But how long has this been open?
This one in Schaumburg has been open 1 year, 12 months.
And how is it doing as a business?
It's coming along. We're finally cash flow positive, and we're just each week we're getting more scans, and we're getting more dentists that are coming by and liking the concept. It's a whole new different thing because we GPs typically dislike each other. We don't play well together. We're all our own islands, and this is like it's like a club here. So the dentists come, pull up in our nice parking lot right by Woodfield Mall here. It's by O'Hare, and then they come in and use the locker room and bring their patients here.
So Schaumburg, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago, is by O'Hare Airport?
Yeah, it's about 10 minutes down the road there, and it's
okay. And that's also
shop.
I've gone there several times. That's where Bisco is.
Yes, Bisco's right in this area too. Yes.
Yeah, Byung Sa, he's got to be one of the most amazing men I've ever met in my life. I mean, talk about just oh my God, from health. I mean, his diet is more serious than his bonding agent. I mean, imagine that. I mean, this is the guy invented all bond. I mean, this guy, I mean, he's just a role model. I mean, he knows when you have a conversation with him about adhesive bonding, I mean, I don't know anybody who understands the molecular chemistry like that guy. And then he switches right into his talking about his diet. His diet's the same way. He just totally believes it's all, what you stick in your mouth. And I'm not even going to tell you how old that guy is, but whatever age you think he is, add 10 years to it.
Jesus. Well,
I know. He's a health machine.
it's kind of motivating to hear guys like that out there, Howard. It really is.
Yeah, and what's also cool about him is his family is I think he's got 3 daughters or 2 daughters and a son, but they're all working with him, and it's a really neat family affair. But so
I didn't know that.
Are you the is this prototype of what you've done ImplantWide, and you go to www.implantwidellc.com?
That's correct.
So could do you do you know of any other business models like this in the United States or around the world?
I don't. There's many teaching facilities. You've got Whitecap, P.K. Clark, who you interviewed. He's an innovator. He's been teaching it. He's got a great facility, and there's a lot of places throughout the country where dentists will fly and learn how to place implants.
That's in Utah.
Utah, yeah. Or there's Garg. There's all over. But I wasn't aware of anybody that just opened a beautiful facility, filled it with all the equipment and the implants, and opened its doors for dentists.
Can I give you a business tip?
Yes, sir.
If you wanted this thing to go national, I can only quote 3 state. The most coveted thing in dentistry is when your state board says that a licensed dentist from another state can come do dentistry there, and that is so rare. That's why you see all these implant courses in Dominican Republic and Mexico. Like, I'm in Phoenix, and if you drive down to the Mexican border, just you stay in a hotel on the American side. In the morning, you drive across, and they have surgical implant training facilities, right? So they go to the state board because it's just like Supreme Court. They won't hear a case unless it's just completely the perfect case to make clarity. You know what I mean? I mean, there's like a million lawsuits a month, and Supreme Court will see like 200. So you go to your state board and you say, if a licensed dentist in good standing in another state comes to my facility and wants to do free volunteer work on an American vet, can he have a temporary license for whatever fee that you need to charge him for administrative fee? Now, what state board of dental examiner can go defend the answer no to the press with that one? No, you can't fly here from Oklahoma to treat a vet who went and got wounded in war. And so far, I've coached 3 people into saying this, and the state board said, well, yeah, that's a good thing. Now, a dentist in Oklahoma who wants to place an implant on his cousin Eddie, because that's what friends and family are for. They're research monkeys to place your first implant. Now he can drag his cousin Eddie to your facility and place his first implant. He's got his patient. They can share a hotel room, and then he's got a temporary license. You go to the Illinois State Board of Dental Examiner and get that. You'll now be doing $1 million a month.
Well, that's good advice. I didn't think about that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, but it's got to be a dentist licensed in good standing in the United States and another state. His license isn't suspended, revoked. He's in good standing, and he's doing volunteer dentistry, not charging anybody on an American vet. Wow. Oh my God! So they'll start playing the Star Spangled Banner as soon as you ask a question. I'm serious. You do that now. You're gonna. So how many dentists are now? You've had 40 dentists come by. Are they all from the suburb? Or are they all from the Chicago metro?
Yeah, they're all within. Some are from downtown Chicago. That's the farthest, or the North Shore. They come about 45 minutes. The majority of them are probably within a 30 minute driving range.
And how many dentists are in that area? What's your possible pool to?
Well, there's a lot of them. I think there's 1,000 at least. I mean, we set up here on purpose because it's the hornet's nest. We're right in the middle of all the dentists right here, and there's so much competition. And the other thing, Howard, as you know, is it's just a setup to get going on the implants. You gotta get the courses, and then you gotta buy the cone beam. That's 100 to 130, and then you have to get all the implant systems, and then you gotta who's got your back when you have a problem. And it's just very difficult for GPs these days to incorporate it in their general dental practices. Even though we're talking about it and it should be done, it's really difficult. These new grads, as you know, are coming out $200,000 to $400,000 in debt, and the last thing they want to do is go out and buy cone beams and all these implant systems that sit on the shelves. So we figured that we take that barrier away to entry and just have everything here, and then they can do it at their own pace. If dentists are experienced, they can just come and use the facility and just pay a low rental fee. and they have their assistants here, and it's all equipment and all the things, and they don't have to invest in their own practice, because too many dentists buy the surgical kits, because we talk to all the reps. We've talked to probably 15 different companies, and they'll go out and spend, they'll sell the kit to the dentist for $5,000 to $20,000 or so, with 20 implants, and it sits on the shelf. And then a year later, the rep goes back and asks the dentist, how many implants did you place? He said, well, I placed 2, one on my mother and the second one on my friend, and that failed, so I never placed another implant. And all these kits are sitting on shelves across America, so it's difficult oftentimes to incorporate the implants in your GP practice if you're busy.
And buying $100,000 CBCT, I'll disclose, I bought one. I bought the Carestream one, which is Carestream. It used to be owned by Kodak. Now it's Carestream out of Canada. But it's kind of like a smartphone. I mean, nobody's using a 5-year-old smartphone, and a lot of the oral radiologist people tell me that the half-life on a CBCT is probably 5 years, and there's new features, new everything, and so I don't know if you want to buy a $100,000 CBCT and think in your walnut brain that you're going to own it for the next 20 years, when the reality is you're not going to own your iPhone for 20 years either.
I think it's a perfect analogy, Howard. I agree, and we also have the Carestream 9300 here. So yeah, I think that's true. And just after a while, after 30 years in the business, like you and I with busy practices, you kind of see what's going on. The cash flow is just going out and out all the time, and it's if you can be doing a lot of implants on an annual basis, couple of hundred, 500, you're going to get a return on investment, and you're going to get your game down and get good. But many dentists that we're talking to here, from new grads up to 65-year-old dentists, they're like, well, I've been a bread and butter dentist. There's 4 things you do to a tooth, right? A filling, a crown, a root canal, and you pull it. Those are the 4 things, and they're doing that over and over. But they see that their schedules are often lightening, and all the PPO problems. I mean, just read it on Dental Town. All the corporations, all these issues happening now. And so GPs are either having a lighter schedule with the bread and butter things, and all their patients are baby boomers now, that are all their crown and bridge work is decaying, and they all need all on 4s, and they all need multiple implants and redos. You probably see that in your practice, Howard. It's all changed from what it was in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Right? We're doing root canals, crowns, and bridge work on all these people. Now we're in 2015, and all the baby boomers, 10,000 a day, turn 65. They're all coming in, and all their crown and bridge work is failing and cracking and breaking. I mean, you probably see it 3 a day. People, number 19's broken to the gum line. It's had a root canal. You need to be able to extract it and put an implant in there and things very easily. So,
well, I'm in Phoenix, so basically the way the United States works, if you're northeast, you retire to Florida, and if you're west of the Mississippi River from Minnesota on over, you come to Phoenix, and so I probably have twice as many senior citizens as like the average practice in the in Nebraska, Iowa, Kansas, Minnesota, all those places, and holy crap, they live a long time. I would say the biggest mental error that I made in '87, I'd say the first 10 years that I was a dentist is, it'd be like a really old man, and I'd be sitting there thinking, I just got to patch it. I probably got to buy this old burger just another year or two. And now, and then 20 years later, he's still sitting there in your patient, in your practice. And it took me about 10 years to realize, man, I don't care if they're 80. An 80-year-old is more likely to live to 90 than a 60-year-old, because they've already passed through all these areas where they should have died. So they're not dying for a reason, and they're probably going to live a long time. But yeah, implants is the fastest growing portion of my practice. I mean, it's the biggest portion. And when I got out of school, I mean, it was nothing to do 4 molar root canals a day.
Yeah.
In fact, when endodontists would tell me, well, you should go to endo school, I'd say, well, how many, if you want to do molar endo, they used to say, and I'd say, well, how many molar root canals did you do in your 2-year, endo program? Because I know the first 5 years out of school, I did that many. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, you're just doing a lot. So you've seen all the systems. So you said you have 15 implant systems in your office?
About 12.
12?
Yeah.
Can you name all 12 systems? Because there were 275 implant companies at the Cologne meeting in IDF in Germany.
Yeah. It's getting ludicrous. There's so many, if you do the math permutations, you can't get a dentist to agree upon a bonding agent. So now we're looking at 250 implant companies, of which each has a catalog half-inch thick. And if you actually did the math, it would come to like one with probably 50 zeros after it, all the different permutations of parts, pieces, and it does get a little bit ridiculous. But you got your basic systems, right? Your big ones, your Straumann's, your Nobels, your Zimmers, your Astra, which is the Dentsply implants. I mean, you get these the main systems, and then you have your, Hyosins, your Megagens, your Implant Directs, your OCO Biomedicals, your BioHorizons, I mean, 3M, Imtex. I mean, just go down the list here, and there's just so many different ones that they mix and match. You got your internal hex for your Zimmers and your BioHorizons and your Implant Directs, and then you have your outdated trilobe with the replaced from Nobel, and then you have your new Nobel Actives, which are phenomenal. But you're getting all these new companies that are duplicating it. Like you have Occitanium, that new company in New Mexico. They have their Bioactive implant, which is a Nobel Active clone with nanotechnology. And then you have Megagen, which just came out with their Reflect Rapid line 2 months ago. And it's basically exactly like the Nobel Active, if not better.
Is Megagen partly owned by another implant company?
Yes, I had heard that Straumann invested 30 or 40 million towards them.
That's what I heard, but I can't confirm that. Is that what you're hearing too?
Yeah, I heard it too. Yeah, and I spoke with
Straumann's out of Switzerland or Sweden? I always get the two S's mixed up. Is it Switzerland?
You know what? I can't remember if it's Switzerland or Sweden. I don't remember. But I believe
starts with S.
I think they own Neodent too, Howard. And I think then they've got a controlling interest in Megagen. So they're basically just stratifying. They're going to probably keep their regular Straumann's priced where they're at, and then they have the new Megagen line and your Neodent. So, I mean, it's consolidation is the word.
And that's what Danaher did. They bought the high-cost Noble Biocare line, and then Danaher turned around and bought the first they bought the low-cost Implants Direct. So I guess I want to ask you, is there a price quality curve in here? I mean, from your high-cost Noble Biocare to the lowest cost, I guess what I'm trying to pin you down on, Jim, I'm trying to throw you under a bus and have you piss off 11 of the 12 companies that you work with. Because the solo dentist driving to work, I mean, she's 30 years old. She says, look, Jim, I only want to buy one system. What would you tell her?
You know what? That's throwing me under the bus, but I'd have to say, you know what? If you
what are friends for?
$80, you can go. I can buy an $80 implant. You can buy a $600 implant. You can buy, the trabecular metal implant from Zimmer, which was a dog, but it was $600. So somewhere in there's got to be a sweet spot. In general, I'm seeing a lot of people sweet spotting around $200 for the implant. That seems to be a good price point. So I kind of divide it, and above 200 to 600, you got that, and then 200 down to 80, somewhere.
And what companies are in that $200 sweet spot?
Well, you have a Megagen. They have a fantastic implant at Jerome Smith. He's on Dental Town. I've visited him down in Lafayette, Louisiana, and he loves the AnyRidge implant. And I have to say, I love the AnyRidge implant from Megagen. It's priced around that $200 sweet spot. It's got all the bells and whistles. It's a great, great implant, regardless of the price.
And I love their founder. I love their founder. Have you met him?
Dr. Park?
Yeah.
Yes, Dr. Park. Yeah, the periodontist who founded Megagen. Yeah, he's great. He's a genius. I heard him about 8 months ago in Chicago, and he's got all these clinics over in Korea where he's invented things. And he came out with the rescue implant about 8 years ago, and then he had Then he changed the design and came out with the AnyRidge, and then the Any1, and now he's got the new Reflect line, which just is fantastic. They call it Reflect because it reflects back all the majors. So they came out with the Reflect Rapid, which is the active clone, and then they have the Reflect Zimmer clone, the Reflect Straumann, the Reflect.
You know what his secret sauce is, besides being a genius and a workaholic and a great man and all that stuff.
What's that?
He's kind of like a Rick Workman in the fact that he really built up a monster dental clinic. I mean, it's like 10 stories high. Every story is like ortho, peri-op, or whatever. So when they decided to make implants, because he truly believed that the Koreans chewed harder and had different mastication forces and angles, and they needed a stronger, sturdier implant, he decided he was going to make his own because the implant companies wouldn't listen to his concerns, and they didn't buy that the Koreans were different than the Europeans or Africans or anyone else. But when he would make a test implant in his own dental office clinic, he could place, he could do his own research. I mean, when he took a prototype, he could have 1,000 of them placed at the end of the month.
Yeah.
His speed of R&D, no one can match. Nobody can go from an idea to a made implant that take him about a day, and then
Right.
could have 1,000 placed at the end of the month, and in 1 year, absolutely know what's going on.
That's a good point. I didn't know that, Howard, but yeah, you could kind of feel it with the quality and things like that. That there's
Yeah,
something very cutting edge to it.
yeah. It's just
And then of
speed.
course,
It's people, time, and money, and that guy's got
people
time
time
down.
money, and I agree. And then back to implants. You can't beat the Nobel Active. The Active is just a great when you're
Is
doing
that
the all.
are we still in the $200 range?
Well, the Active is probably in the $400 range, but they'll probably discount it. I mean, it's all over the board. I don't know what they price it exactly at.
But
But
back to the sweet spot of the $200 range. What besides MakeGen, what else do you
well,
like?
you've got your BioHorizons. That's right around there. You've got your Implant Direct. That's right in there. What else? What other implants? I
Okay,
mean, that's
then go higher at 200. Go above. What would be the above cost ones? No BioCare.
okay, Zimmer. I think Zimmer's around 3. And then you got your, what about Astra and Ankylos? I think those are priced up there.
And then what would be the low cost if someone just says, because we got listeners in every country. Maybe someone's in Tanzania and says,
Three eye is a great implant. It's a little bit probably I would think above 200, but everybody's changing things all the time, so it's hard to keep up with it. As far as the Osteo-Biomedical, I mean, they're priced around 200, slightly less, I think. But once again, the reps are always willing to deal. If you buy 1,000 implants from a rep, you're going to get a much better price than if you're a poor GP trying to place 2 implants a year and you're going to pay full price.
What percent of the dentists do you believe in the United States? There's out of all the general dentists in the United States, what percent of them do you think have placed an implant, surgically placed an implant?
Well, you hear different statistics. I'm thinking it's probably 10%, but maybe it's higher. It seems to be changing all the time. In fact, I had heard that just last year that the combined implant placement of all the GPs in America was greater than the combined implant placement of the perios or the oral surgeons for the first time ever. So that means that GPs are obviously getting into the game. But it's hard to, your article, I think you said, what, 10, 15% we're placing. Sometimes you hear it's higher, 20, 30%. But in my experience, talking to the dentists that are coming through here, it doesn't seem to be 30% of them, I don't believe, are regularly placing. I mean, what do you feel?
One thing I love, there's a research here that says what percent of the implants were placed by general dentists. What I love the most about writing a column or having a podcast, what I like the most is, a lot of people have thoughts in their head that they don't know they're wrong. The neat thing, I've had a monthly column from 94 to 2015. So if I ever write anything wrong, what I love the most about it, if I'm wrong, I'm instantly corrected. I remember one time I wrote something as silly as, I was making an example that Patton and MacArthur were 5-star generals. I got like 300 emails that said that Patton was a 4-star general. I mean, just little things like that. And I said 10% of the general dentists had placed an implant, and I'm getting all these documents of support, saying varying numbers, but it's hard to find.
I think it's hard to find the truth as to what that is. I mean, if a dentist places 1 implant 2 years ago and never again, does that count as a dentist who's placing implants or not? It's kind of difficult to distill out the truth.
Okay. So let's stop right here and let's start with. I'm thinking about my audience, and I'm assuming 90% have never placed an implant. She's driving to work and she's saying, I know I want to, but what would be the steps? I've never placed one. I'm driving to work. I'm listening to Jim. What would talk me through the steps to where?
Yeah, okay, the first step is she's 20 minutes from this facility. That's where her office is, down the road, okay? And she basically knows in her mind she has a patient that needs 3 implants on the mandible. She just she has that. We're very pattern recognition, by the way, dentists. I was a math major, not a biology, so we love, and David Hawkins wrote a book, Power versus Force, one of my favorite books of all time, and he says that intelligence usually is just good pattern recognition. So dentists, we're the masters of pattern recognition. We're obsessive to the nth degree. So this dentist, in her mind, has a patient that needs 3 implants, but she doesn't know what to do with it. Do I refer it out? she's looking at her schedule. She's got holes. She's kind of slow, new out of school. She wants to do it. What am I going to do? This is what's my choices. Do I have to take a year and fly to the Dominican and place 20 implants? Do I have to buy the kit? Do I have to cross my fingers? How am I going to pull this off? Well, I've heard about this ImplantWide Surgicenter 20 minutes away. We do the scans for complimentary. We don't charge for the scans, and that's the whole thing. We scan a lot of people, and we look at the scans, and it's a screening device. We don't charge ever. So that dentist would basically send Mary, the patient, to ImplantWide. The ImplantWide team will take her, do a scan on the and a pan on the CareStream 9300, and then the patient would just set up a consultation appointment and leave. That would take 20 minutes. Then one of the surgeon mentors will look at the scan, come up with a couple of plans. You know, you can look at these scans after you're looking at them all the time. It takes you about 10 minutes, 15 minutes. They're not that hard. It's like looking at a bite wing after you've looked at scans for years. And they place 3 virtual implants on the lower left. And so the surgeon mentor would then call up Dr. Smith, the dentist down the street, and say, listen, Mary came in for a scan. I can see that she needs 3 implants. This is the bone availability. We can place them now. We're ready to go. You have any preference on implants? And, you know, if the dentist wants to use any implant, that's fine. She can use any implant she wants. We also have a no corkage fee. So if they want to bring their implants in here, we don't charge. We don't make any money on implants. We have an inventory here of several hundred, but we don't mark them up. So if they can bring the implants in. So she has the patient plan for 3 implants, and our surgeon mentor, one of our periodontists or surgeons, would be, she says, I can't do it myself. I need to have the team approach. I need to have a mentor there helping me. So they schedule a patient 3 weeks down the road for those 3 implants. The patient says yes to the fee. Chris, our office manager at the facility, would then quote the fee, whatever the dentist wanted. Let's say the dentist says, I want to charge $2,000 per implant for the patient. The case is then sold, and the patient shows up and pays the money. And they all coordinate in the room with the assistant and all the cone beam reports and all the equipment. Dr. Smith, the surgeon mentor, the patient. And then the dentist does have to participate in the surgery. So whether it's anesthesia or a little bit of suturing, they have to participate. And then together they do the 3 implants. Then Dr. Smith charges the patient whatever she wants as the billing dentist because she participated. We're the casino, we're the house, we take our cut. And she also gets CE credits. We're AGD certified, so that for every hour that they spend in the surgicenter, they get an hour of CE credits through the AGD. So they earn while they learn. That's our thing. So they come here and actually earn while they learn.
Man, earn while you learn. What a concept compared to all the other concepts where drop $5,000 for a weekend.
That's what I said.
And then I say, can I see the $5,000 worth of notes? You know, save me $5,000. Can I just see the notes? And they've got like 3 pages written down. It's like, wow, dude, that's $1,500 a page.
Yeah, you know,
that is an amazing concept. I mean, that's an amazing concept. So here's a woman that's 30 years old. She doesn't want to fly across the country. And by the way, she just needs to be licensed in Illinois, so she could be driving all the way from. You know, I mean, the entire state. How many dentists are in the state of Illinois?
14,000, I think. So I can't remember.
I mean, your market is 14,000 because if you can't see the value, and as far as the patient, I mean, just like you said to that guy, you placed 2. He placed 1 on his sister and 1 on his friend. I mean,
right.
You know, to buy a research monkey is usually $100,000, and you got your cousin Eddie at Thanksgiving dinner for free, and he'll do it for. And you know, all my younger dentists I've talked to that they're older uncles and grandfathers. They think it's an honor that little Susie's going to try her first. And you know what I mean? I mean, it's like like a becoming a veteran for their niece or nephew. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't think you have one uncle who would say no to the deal, even if he didn't want it. And and if they got to drive all the way from you know, Effingham, I mean, who cares? And to go down there and to I mean, wow, earn while you learn. That is just an amazing concept.
Well, thank you. So then they can go at their speed. So if they have their game up and they want to just use the facility for solo, we call it, they can come and do it with our assistance, and we don't need a surgeon mentor in the room, and they bill in.
I want to back up. Okay, she's driving to work and she's saying, okay, Jim, I got that, but you know, I'm going to become a patient, but I've never done one. Do I need prereqs? Would you recommend I go to a continuum? Is there online CE? Do you have a webinar? You know, what about the didactics? You know, I've never placed 1 implant.
Well, you know what? You don't, it's on the job training. You're going to come here with the mentor and you will participate because you do know how to give
Do you guys
anesthesia.
have a didactic lecture?
At this point, we haven't got around to doing it yet, Howard. We just opened the doors, and so it's just been busy doing what we're doing here. But
Well,
eventually,
your best marketing would go on Dentaltown. We put up 350 courses. They've been viewed over 500,000 times. You should build up the didactic training for ImplantWide and put that up on Dentaltown, and then all these people. Then you got 14,000 dentists in Illinois, and basically every state's the same. About every quarter, about 25% of the dentists of every state have logged on and off Dentaltown at least once. It's about 1/4 per quarter per state. It's then all the states are pretty much the same. So 14,000 a quarter of them would be half would be 7,500. Half of that would be about 3,500. So probably 3,500 dentists in Illinois would have that license. I mean, would you'd be marketing to with the online didactic course, and they get to meet you. You're two periodontists. They get to feel familiar with you. You go through the didactics, and they go down there and just say, "Okay, look, I'm a newbie. The first one, I just want to watch. I'll numb them up or do whatever, but I just want to work with you. I want to earn and learn."
Well, thank you for that offer. That would be a great thing, Howard. It really would be.
And then while you're working on that, I swear to God, one trip with you and your two periodontists to the Illinois State Board of Dental Examiner, no one. I mean, you could lose your job if some reporter put a microphone in front of you and said, "Why are you not allowing dentists from other states to come do volunteer dentistry on vets?" I mean, I mean, you'd fear your job and pension and career. I mean, you just can't say no to that.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. So, but basically, we also do the traditional approach. So back to your question, Howard, let's say she wants to just refer the patient and have our periodontist do it all. We do that. We call it traditional. So we have three approaches: solo, team, or traditional. And she could come and watch while the periodontist did everything, and then we would just bill the patient as if it was a traditional periodontist just doing the implant. And she would be able to just stand there and watch.
And why did you get two periodontists instead of two oral surgeons?
Well, to be honest, I'm not sure. We talked, we met them. Reganado is just a great guy, as you know. He's a dynamo, and Dr. Jody Puri is our other periodontist. Then we've had a couple of oral surgeons that have come here, Dr. Michael Jones, Dr. Chris Chaukas, and they've done cases here. So if we need them, they're associated with the club here. They have lockers and things. So it's a matter of trying to, as you know, trying to get everybody coordinated so that the dentist and the periodontist, and we're just trying to work on coordinating things. But the basic concept has been a real winner with these dentists because they come in and I talk to them all the time. I talked to a couple of new ones yesterday. One was a 65-year-old dentist. One was a new grad, and they're basically saying all the same thing. "This is a great idea." They say, I want to start doing implants, and my schedule's slightly light, but I don't know what to do, and now I can come here and start right away. So they like it.
You've already got your curriculum because Anthony Reganado, he's been on Dentaltown forever. He has 1,500 posts. He has 2 CE courses, and he even has a Reganado lecture series on YouTube, which is amazing. You guys,
it's amazing. He's amazing. Yes, it is.
He's already got 2 CE courses, and he's already I mean, you basically already have it. He has the socket bone grafting technique on the socket bone grafting technique using DPTFE membranes, and the course explores advantages of using. Explain what D/PTFE is. You know off the top of your head?
Yes, those are the newer generation of the old Gore-Tex. So those are the dense ones, which are more impermeable. So and when you remove those, that the company is Cytoplast. They're called Cytoplast membranes. The Cytoplast 2000s or 200, I think they call them the singles, out of the company. What is it? Osteogenics, I believe, in Texas. So you buy these membranes for $150, and you don't need primary closure. So you can put your flaps edges and have 4 to 5 millimeters of exposed DPTFE membrane. So that way the keratinized tissue eventually will grow over it. And 6 weeks later, when you go to take the membrane out, you can just tug it out with your forceps, as opposed to the old Gore-Tex membranes, which you had to flap it and dissect them out. It was much more difficult. So these DPTFE ones, Cytoplast is the main one in the country. They're real slick for missing buccal walls, or anytime you just can't achieve primary closure. They're nice. They're really nice.
And then he has another course, minimally invasive ridge augmentation, maximizing clinical efficiency. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, he's already got 2 courses, and you could put all of his YouTube channels. You could combine all of them. I mean, you probably have a curriculum just
Oh yeah.
from his YouTube channels.
Yeah, and he's a great instructor. He has his own private practice also about 15 minutes from here, and he travels to about 7 or 8 dentists. I know 9 dentists he travels, and he helps out at our surgicenter. So he's
Is he there? Is he there now?
He's not sitting here right now.
Oh, I thought you were just talking to him.
I invited him. I wanted him to talk to you, and he was busy. Actually, he flew to Florida today for the AAP meeting. That's why he couldn't make it today. I invited Anthony to be here.
Well, we should do a podcast with him and your other periodontist.
I think that would be wonderful. Jody Puri, she's a wonderful, probably early 30s, PhD periodontist, loves teaching. Both her and Rationale, they love teaching the GPs. And that's what we're all about. We want to make a very mentoring, non-threatening environment where it's not intimidating for dentists to come and ask silly questions and learn. There is no silly questions, and they can learn implants without a oppressive environment. And we're trying to open it up for people. That's what we're trying to do.
Tell her I'm begging her to do a podcast because I keep getting the complaint. How come every time you interview a dentist, it's a man, and every time you interview a woman, it's a consultant or a hygienist? And is that sexist? And I'm like, dude, trust me, there's no bias. So I actively search. Joyce Bassett, how often do I send her a text? Every 3 days. She's the first woman president dentist of the American Academy of Cosmetic Dentistry, and she lives up the street. Me and Ryan had dinner with her a couple weeks ago. I'm like, Joyce, you're a woman role model, and they half the dental school class is women. They don't want to see every time there's a man, every time there's a dentist talking, it's a man. So tell your woman periodontist I have to have her.
I invited her too today. She couldn't do it, but I'll tell her and Anthony to get in touch with you, and you can do the podcast with those two. It'd be fabulous. I'd love to have you.
Yeah, and it'd be great marketing. And then you could also email these podcasts to all the dentists in Illinois.
Okay.
You could send an email with a link to all 3 of the podcasts, and then the links to his 2 courses online on Dental Town, and then if we could put all those YouTube videos to splice them together, you could have a nice little curriculum.
That's very generous of you, Howard. You've always been an innovator. I've known about 30 years you've been out there, and what you say is almost 100% the truth. And you're a visionary, and so I appreciate what you've done for dentistry, man. You've really done a lot.
Well, same back at you, buddy. You got the first. This is the first prototype I've ever heard. I've heard of no one doing this.
Well, thank you. I figured, it just came to me. In fact, the name came to me when I was driving down the road about 7 years ago. I was thinking, we need a health club for implants called, I didn't have a name yet. And I was thinking of that ZZ Top song, I'm Bad, I'm Nationwide, and all of a sudden it just popped in my head. How about ImplantWide? We encompass more than implants. We do grafting and surgery, and we are open to and mentoring, friendly to everybody's welcome here, specialists and GPs. So I came up with the word ImplantWide. And
while listening to ZZ Top?
ZZ Top song was playing, the Nationwide. Yeah, so it just hit me. It came to me when I was driving down the road. The windows were down, Howard. I thought I was 17 years old again back in 1978.
So ZZ Top had a song called
I'm Bad, I'm Nationwide. I can't remember
Nationwide. I don't remember that. The second album I ever bought in my life was ZZ Top Fandango. The first was Head East, Flat as a Pancake.
Oh my God, that going down for the last time. I think that.
Yeah, absolutely. My gosh, that is so funny.
That was great. Good times back then, Howard. Good times in the late 70s.
Yeah, and ZZ Top, man, what a great business when you see. I remember seeing 2 concerts back to back. One was ZZ Top Fandango, and I was sitting there the whole time thinking, wow, they get to split all this money by 3. Because the week before, I had seen Earth, Wind, and Fire, and I just thought to myself, how many people are on that stage? 14, 11, 12, a dozen? I mean, I just thought, at the end of the day, nobody made much money on this deal. Commodores was the same way. It's like, my God, you guys got way too much overhead in this band. I like the...
That is so funny, Howard. That's the funniest thing I've ever heard. God.
I had more respect for the Police and ZZ Top having only 3 employees than any of those The Glenn Miller Orchestra. Those guys were probably making minimum wage by the time you dissected 50 people on stage. So I want to ask you two
Howard, one more thing I wanted to say is that we've partnered up with a great dental lab named High Point Lab. It's across the highway here, and they're a really big facility, and they have incredible equipment, technicians. Dan Holloway is one of our partners here at the office, and he works with the lab, and they do all the grad programs at UIC and the dental school. So they've got all the expensive milling machines, so you don't have to ship it to New Jersey. And they've also kind of partnered with ImplantWide. So when the dentists come here, it's not only the placement of the implants, but it's the proths. You know, you've got placement and you got proths. So he's able to coordinate all the lab stuff that has to do with implants with the dentists. So Dan and Chris and everybody working together, it just is kind of a neat, complete package that doesn't exist anywhere right now.
And what is the www for that lab? www what?
www.highpoint.dental.
How do you spell High Point?
High Point. H-I, and then P-O-I-N-T, High Point Dental Lab.
High Point Dental Lab. And is that in Schaumburg, Illinois?
Yes, Schaumburg.
Schaumburg, Illinois?
Schaumburg, Illinois, that's correct.
And so I want to ask you two controversial things on implants. I'll just name them right off top. One is to use a surgical guide or not a surgical guide. Thoughts?
Well, you know what? That's a good question. I think you always need to use the cone beam. And as long as you're using the cone beam properly and you can take measurements accurately off the cone beam and you can use a caliper in the mouth off of landmarks to actually mark spots on the gingiva with ink using calipers and cone beams, you can be very, very safe without a surgical guide. But yeah, surgical guides are great. It's going to be an extra step, but they've come down in price. So many dentists are drawn to surgical guides because it's very easy, right? You just drill the hole and stick it through the guide, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't use them a lot. I know Dr. Reganado, we asked him this question about 4 weeks ago. He was giving a lecture here at ImplantWide, and I said, Anthony, out of all the implants you've placed, you're a legend at dental implants on Dental Town and your YouTubes. I said, how many surgical guides do you use? And he goes exactly 0. So Anthony doesn't use them, but there's that oral surgeon on Dental Town that uses them 100% of the time out of California.
Jay Resnick.
Yeah, Resnick. So everybody's across the board. I personally don't use a lot of surgical guides, but you do need to be very careful with your planning at the cone beams and make sure you don't hit the vital structures and safety first. So I would say, you know, it's not a panacea though, Howard. You know, you can't not have a surgical skills because the few times that if you had an issue with the guide or whatever, you need to be able to flap and do basic surgery to, you know, and suturing and placement of bone to be able to do implants properly. But yeah, the guides are fine, but they're not a panacea, I would say.
So you've had 44 dentists, right, come in and use your facility.
Yes.
If 100 cases are being done, what percent of them would you use a surgical guide on in ImplantWide?
Right now, about 0.
Yeah. So and that's what I love about Dental Town because, you know, young people think binomial, yes, no, up, down, right, left, and older people who are 50 know that life is 50 shades of gray. And I can name 1,000 dentists who produce and collect $1 million a year and don't place implants, they don't have a CBCT, they don't have a CERAC machine, they don't have a laser, and all they do is fillings and crowns. And then I can show you another 1,000 dentists have every one of those toys. So it's 50 shades of gray, you know what I mean? And you know,
I agree, and our profession allows that. We can take any kind of path we choose, and it's very forgiving in that regards, that we can all earn a living doing completely different things, it seems to me.
Okay, I want to ask you another taboo. I like this is Dentistry Uncensored. I like to ask the uncomfortable questions. Mini implants. A lot of people who place mini implants are kind of like in the closet because they feel like on Dental Town or with periodontists and oral surgeons that a mini implant's not a real implant. And you know, someone comes in with a denture, they use the existing denture, they place 2 or 4 little minis and snap on, and then other people are like, come on, man up and place a real root form. What are your thoughts on mini, and why are they not as popular in the United States as they are in other countries like Germany?
I think it's ego and politics. It's all ego and politics because it's titanium. If you do a cone beam on a 70-year-old lady on the mandible edentulous and she's got 2.5 width of anterior bone between the foramen, and you're going to not place implants on this lady, she doesn't want to have grafting. She wants to have 2 to 4 little implants. So yeah, absolutely. Put 4 minis in there, whether they're 3Ms, whether they're dentatus with the wide top where you can just soft line the denture and you don't even need a housing, it just sticks on it. You're doing these people a service by using the minis in these areas. Now in the posterior maxilla, where you have 5 millimeters to the sinus and it's wide with type D3, D4 bone, are we going to put a 1.8 by 13 sticking up in there? Probably not. We wouldn't do that. But it's got its uses, and I think it's, once again, it's a politics. It's what you just said, Howard. Dentist, it's a black and white thing. Well, I don't place minis, hence I'm a superior dentist surgeon. Well, I think that's wrong. A mini has its place for the 7-year-old lady that needs a denture to hold it down. Yeah.
And back to those minis, you said something. What was you were saying about the dentatus mini? Didn't need a housing case?
Yeah,
What's the name of that? Dentatus?
And it's called the Atlas Mini.
And who makes that?
It's out of New York. I think the company's Dentatus. I think Henry Schein might sell them. But it's just like the 3M Imtech MDI. It's 1.8 by 10 or 13. But as opposed to that little ball that 3M has where you need a little housing at the washer or the O-ring, you just basically put these Dentatus ones in. The head is wider. And you can now not use housings. Just take your denture on Mrs. Smith, grind it out in the anterior, put a little bit of GC soft liner or something, and just put it in for 5 minutes, and that thing will snap in tight as a rock. It'll last you a year, and you don't need any fiddling with housings. It's fantastic,
And you know how you learn so much by your mistakes? I remember one of the first implant cases I did. I placed 6 implants on her, and then she lost her job, no money, and she still had a denture. And so I took those, I put on the abutments on the implants, and then gutted out her denture and relined it over just those 6 implants. So there was no O-rings, no attachments. I already had the implants. Back then you had to buy, the whole piece. And
Right.
and here it is 28 years later. That thing is firm as a rock. She loves it. And she just has 6 maxillary implants and a denture that seats on those implants. I mean,
Yeah.
what do you
And
design for?
look at the service you did for that patient. I mean, that's what you have to think about. There's 300 million Americans, and these people need our help as dentists. So to take a stance that I'm above a mini, or for whatever reason, I'm a superior surgeon, I have the hands of God, and I don't place a mini, what are you saying? How are you helping the 7-year-old lady that needs those 4 minis in the front? There's a place, in basically the way it is now, you have minis all the way up to like the 8 millimeter diameter any ridge implant or something in between. So all different areas of the mouth have different, three-dimensionality to it. If you have an area for a mini in the anterior, use it if it's going to work. If you have a number 7 and 10 on somebody that's got very narrow, they don't want to go through grafting, put a couple of minis and have a ridge lap, Pan-abutment or whatever they call it, the book from, I can't remember the name of the author right now, that a little crown that just kind of ridge laps on 7 and 10. You're doing them a service, and these things work. But I think it's all the same. You just analyze your cone beam, and you come upon a conclusion as to what implant fits in what site, and whether it's a mini or whether it's a $600 7 millimeter diameter implant, as long as it's for the site, take care of it and take care of the patient.
But almost every dentist who's never placed an implant in Illinois right now has a grandma, a mom, a grandma, an aunt, someone with full dentures that would like some implant support.
All of them have 300 people in their practice and 8 relatives that need to have some help with implants. And these poor dentists, I feel bad for the new guys out of school. You and I are fine at our point in lives, but they need to get in and help these people with some implants and get into the game somehow safely, so it's safe and proper. Don't just dive in and cause errors. And that's why we came up with this, to help.
Let's switch over to implant surgical designing software. Okay, you have the machine CareStream for the actual CBCT, but do you like any of the treatment planning softwares? I mean, there's Antimage, there's all kinds of...
Antimage and Simplant, I've used those. I just actually, at this point, love CareStreams. They come with their own virtual implant software. It's fabulous.
So you use the house software.
I use the house software, yeah. And then you download your library, so we have like 1 million different implant libraries, of which you click on it and you get a beautiful virtual implant, and you just drag and drop it into the position and find that it fits in there nicely and everything, and you can do a lot with just the house software. Yes.
What if some dentist in Illinois wants to just talk to you? How do they reach Jim?
Well, they can take my cell phone. I mean, I can give my cell phone, or they can go to the ImplantWide website and just
What's your
contact
cell
me.
phone? What's your cell phone?
My cell phone is 815-543-3003.
815-543
3003.
3003.
Yeah, that's my.
And if they're okay, that 815-543-3003, and the website is implantwidellc.com.
That's
And
correct.
yeah, man, I'm so glad that you spent an hour with me today. I think this is an amazing concept, and I wonder if who knows, maybe 10 years from now, you might have this in several states, or people can just travel to you.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but to be honest with you, Howard, I enjoy it a lot. It's a lot of fun. It's different than practicing the old general dentistry with my associates in the big practice. Because when we come here, it's a brand new facility. I'm interacting, and the periodontist and the partners are interacting with other dentists as a team approach, and it's a whole different dynamic than just going to your own office and cranking out dentistry. And it's quite enjoyable, actually. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you know what? It was Zig Ziglar who said that humans need daily. They need deodorant and motivation. And dentists, I think that what dentists have is the same with Olympic athletes. Olympic athletes have a very, very high rate of alcoholism because they did one thing. They swim like the 100-meter for like an hour before school, an hour after school, every year for like 20 years, and it got very, very. They had to deal with burnout. And sometimes I think a big problem with dentists is they're burned out of just doing fillings and crowns. And
And you
that's
can't
why.
blame them. I mean, Howard, you and I have been in this game for 30 years, and I'm 55. And yeah, you look back, and I mean, going in and just doing fillings, crowns all day long for 30, 40 years, it gets very redundant. So if we have the patients that need implants, which we've admitted that we all do have many, many patients, and patients love implants, why don't we just adapt this and make some happiness into our life and make your career a little bit more enjoyable? Because I really enjoyed it. I know you've mentioned that you enjoyed doing implants too, and it changes the dynamic a little bit.
I love blood and guts. I just don't get excited about a DO composite on number 4. I mean, it's just there's just nothing. Maybe it's just there's no, you just get the satisfaction of dealing with the human behind the tooth. But as far as dealing with the tooth, working with your hands, it's nothing really fun. But yeah, that's why that's why I never knock any toys, because with a dentist, I'm worried more about the mental health than their physical health. And if they have good mental health, they'll have good financial health. And like the ones that buy a laser. You notice if they buy a laser, they never buy just one. Lasers are like tattoos. You never see someone with one tattoo. They start with one, and you come back 10 years later, and they got 3. And same thing with lasers. I mean, everybody gets a laser. 2 or 3 years later, they got one for every room. I mean, but what I see with the laser is they get all excited. I mean, it turns them on, and then they want to go to work, and now they're playing. And as long as they're mentally healthy and happy and playing, and maybe, so I want you to end on this. This your end. I would like to financially learn how to place implants. I wish I could add, $10,000 a month becoming an implantologist. But I'm kind of scared because I don't really think I'm a good surgeon, and I refer out all my wisdom teeth. I can pull, obviously, an incisor, canine, premolar, but coach them like Vince Lombardi if she's listening to you and she's just a little scared of the surgery because she basically, that's not her strong point, but she wants to be an implantologist for financial, but she's a little scared because she doesn't think she's a blood and gut surgeon. What would you say to her?
Well, you know what? Come to the health club. Come to ImplantWide. Start working with the mentors and hanging out here. Just come here and hang out with your patients. Bring your patients, and you can do traditional approach and watch, and then get into the team and start getting into it with someone you got someone motivating you and who's an expert surgeon. And then you eventually get your skills up so you could eventually do it solo, either at your own office or here at the facility, or you could just continue to do it team approach wise. But Miss Dr. Smith, I'm talking to the dentist lady, is that this could be life-changing for you because you have many, many patients that now are breaking teeth that need implant-related services and prosthetics. And she can be invited to watch surgeries and all these kind of various things. But realize that because, for every 20 patients that you do fillings on, that 21st one needs 4 implants. And you're right now sending it right out. You're disregarding that 21 person and sending it out out of your office for the surgery. And then you see 20 more people that need fillings and crowns, and now the 42nd one needs an all-on-4. And guess what you're doing? you're not doing it. And then it just goes on and on and on. You're just focusing on these 10. And so every 20th patient needs $5,000 to $50,000 worth of dentistry, which is enjoyable. The patient loves it, and you are not doing it. But now you have a chance to get started on this in a way that's very unique. And
you've said all on four a couple of times, so you got to clarify that. Someone's listening.
Yes, well, the all on 456. We call it it's the all on four concept. You place 4, 5, 6 implants, and you do the hybrid bars, the clear choice model, basically. That type of thing.
Do you guys do that at your place?
We do that. Yes, we do.
And do you like that? Do you like the all on four?
For certain people, yes. I think it's a great thing for certain people. Yes.
And what would clarify the certain people?
Well, it's a cost-effective solution. Mrs. Smith, you can do it. Let's talk about her upper arch, Howard. She's missing 5 teeth. She's got bombed out 7 teeth. She has 4 choices, right? A denture for a couple thousand, an overdenture that snaps on 4 to 5, 6 implants with locators. You can do an all-on-4, which doesn't come in and out, Mrs. Smith. It's about 20 grand an arch, give or take. Or you could do 10 implants, bilateral sinus lifts, and crown and bridge work. You can do these choices. We actually have the models. We have all these models, and we lay 4 models out and say denture 2,000 or 50,000 for 10 implants, bilateral sinus lifts. It'll take 8 months. You'll have crown and bridge work, individual teeth. Or we've got these other options for 13,000. You can have a snap-on denture with 4 to 6 implants, or for 20,000, you can have this one that doesn't come out. And you know what? They sit with their spouse and they look at the denture and they drop it on the table and they're like, I don't think so. And then they grab the $50,000 model with 10 implants. They're like, this is the best. This is awesome. But is it going to be 8 months? I got to spend $50,000? Probably not. And it always comes down to the middle 2 models. Sweetie, $13,000 for this one, or $20,000 to $25,000 for this one. This one's only $8,000 more, and I don't take it out at night. And then they always pick one of the 2 middle ones. So, I love the patient whether they do the denture or they do the $50,000 for all arch 10 implants. But we as providers need to at least open the. There's no selling because you just show the patient the choices, and you genuinely have to be a very genuine person that you really don't care if they do the denture. You'll do the best denture possible. You don't care if they say 50,000. You'll still do the best 10 implants. And if they want an all-on-4 or a snap. So I don't know. It's just I think we need to step it up in dentistry a little bit and not be so nervous about presenting things because we're not selling something they don't need. Just show the choices,
But that's the skill they need the most, because in America, for every 100 cavities you diagnose, they only drill, fill, and bill 38. So the best dentists are the treatment plan coordinators who can get the other half of the remaining 2/3. If 3 people are told they have a cavity, 1 gets it done, 2 don't. With a great treatment plan coordinator, another one of those 2 that didn't get it done will get it done. I think the best online CE course you could make would be an hour of examples of presenting the treatment. Who is that? Do you present the treatment, or do you got a treatment coordinator?
We have Chris, our office manager. But the other thing I want to show you here, can you see this?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yep.
We chart on the pan. So we use the CareStream two-dimensional pan, which you have also, Howard, and they allow you to put these symbols right over the pan. So after we've analyzed the cone beam, we don't use any kind of charting anymore. We got rid of that, the regular charts, no matter what type it is. And everybody gets this. So you can be a 23-year-old hairstylist that's never done anything but snap gum and do hair, and they can look at this and say, Mrs. Smith, you have 8 yellow things here, which are implants, and you need these blue fixed hybrids, and it's going to be $50,000 for this. And honestly, the way of charting makes a big difference too, because the way that we chart in America is based upon 4 things to a tooth: a filling, a crown, a root canal, or an extraction. You've got an analog charting where you circle it needs a crown, or you mark it needs a filling. But how do you treatment plan staged implantology on that chart? Well, you can't. So we chart on the pan, and it's made a big difference. Using the models, using the Chris as the office manager, it's taken it to a new level of understanding amongst everybody. Everybody gets it.
But you know how we were talking about walking up that stair from I've never placed an implant to place an implant? The treatment planning and selling the case is the most important part of the case, because if the patient's not going to give you $1, nothing's ever going to happen. And everybody that does a course on implantology is already about how to drive to LA, but nobody ever does a course on trying to sell let's drive to LA and go over that. I think if you got your I think if you guys got some patient dummies and your treatment coordinator, and talking about how you chart this on CareStream and how you present how you get the patient to say yes and open up their checkbook and give you money. That's the confidence and the cash flow they need to then follow through with learning how to place implants.
100%, Howard, you're actually absolutely right. And we do actually we're starting to get some classes on that, because I didn't think of that as such a barrier, but it really is a barrier for many dentists, because they get, once again, pattern recognition. They quote fillings, crowns, and root canals up to a couple thousand. That's what they're quoting. But now you throw something like this in the mix, and they stumble, and it's very difficult. And so, yes, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, make that course, because the one thing I noticed early on in my career, the difference between the Omar Reeds and all the other dentists is that Omar Reed didn't blink at telling you needed full mouth rehab, and the 50,000 just rolled off his tongue like, can I get you a cup of water? And
Howard, one other thing I want to point out is I feel that the ability to, if you can do the surgery, it kind of gives you confidence to quote the whole fee. It seems to me that many of the dentists that I've talked to, they don't do any surgery yet, and they're saying I have a hard time quoting anything over 5,000. And my answer to them is, after doing this a long time, is, Doc, if you can start doing the surgery, you'll now realize that you are worthy of this fee. It's not just you're not just a middleman taking an impression. Maybe they feel like they're not worthy of the fee because they didn't do the surgery. The lab does all the lab work. They just take an impression and charge the patient, $10,000, and maybe they're just like a middleman. So I said, Doc, if you can now get involved with the surgical portion, and you realize that there is a lot to it, and now you won't think twice about quoting a fee because it's worth it. You're not upselling something.
Well, we are way over time. We went 6 minutes over. We got to stop. And I just want to end on one fee, because I still, my goal is, to get this dentist to just get her done. And I want to tell you that, Socrates said 2,500 years ago that the best surgeons are the ones who served during war, because they're out there with just mutilated bodies. And I mean, they're just blood and guts. And then you go back and do your little appendectomy or something. It's no big deal. And I was scared of surgically placing. In my first course, the first case I saw, I went to Carl Misch. And he's sitting down to a patient who's put under by an anesthesiologist, and he just picks up his blade and he lays a flap from retromolar pad to retromolar pad, reflex, sews the lingual to the opposite side, the other. But anyway, the whole time he's doing the surgery, he's maintaining eye contact with me, talking to me and telling me, and the whole time I'm thinking, quit looking at me, look at the patient here. And he sat there without breaking a conversation and placed half dozen implants on the lower, half dozen implants. He wasn't even in the chair for 20 minutes. And I think it was kind of like just going to World War. And after I saw that, then going back to my office and just placing a little dinky one single implant with a molar was just fearless, because you just seen Carl just, fillet someone ear to ear without blinking. So I think if these kids just drove to your implant center and just met you in the flesh and walked around the center, that will build their confidence and suppress their fears, so that they can engage this decision.
I agree 100% with you, Howard. That's
all
true.
right, buddy. Thank you so much, Jim, for spending an hour with me.
Nice talking to you, Howard. Always a pleasure.
All right. Have a great day.